All right, it is 4 p.m. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our parent series entitled Understanding Cyber Envy. I am one of your facilitators today. My name is Chris Garcia, and I serve here at the San Diego County Office of Education as an Educational Technology Coordinator. And with me to also co-present with me is my director, Dr. Alicia Gallegos, and then as well as Dr. Pamela Rabin. But before we get started, just some housekeeping things. Well, first off, if you are tuning in for English, this presentation also has a live Spanish interpretation. So to hear the audio in English, on your Zoom toolbar, click the globe icon and click on interpretation. If you're on a phone or tablet, select more, you'll see the three dots. And then interpretation, then you select English to get a clear audio feed of the speaker. Y bienvenidos todos. Esta presentación ofrece interpretación en vivo al español. Para escuchar el audio en español en los iconos de Zoom, haga clic en interpretación y en el teléfono o tableta haga clic en más, luego interpretación y luego seleccione español. Y también puedes seleccionar silencio el audio original si no desea escuchar el presentador en el fondo. All right. And one more housekeeping thing, and that is we have two more parent series. So please share your link and share the news out there. But the next one we have is going to be info security and passwords. And that will be on March 10th from 4 to 5 p.m. And then later on, about a month later on, we are going to do this on Tuesday, April 15th. And that is popular apps. What are they and should your child use them? So that again will also be from 4 to 5 p.m. And if you have to any other obligations or may miss one of our sessions, they're also recorded and on our YouTube channel. And we'll be posting the links later on in the chat that has all the resources. All right. So here is the agenda for this evening. The three main things. Yes, Monica. Oh, excuse me. Forgive me. Yeah. No, you're good. Thank you, Monica. All right. Before that, let me go ahead and go back to I just want to make sure the audio for everyone is listening. Here are the instructions again. I did read them out loud, but I will just go ahead and just say them in English and hopefully just to get it. But if you want to listen to this in English, please click on the global icon that's located on the bottom of your Zoom app. And on there, you can click interpretation and toggle between English and Spanish. Si deseas escuchar esto en español, puedes agarrar el icónico del mundo de interpretación abajo de tu aplicación de Zoom y puedes ahí hacer clic en la sección que dice español. We'll also be posting these links online for our upcoming parent series. Again, on March 10th, we'll be talking about info security and passwords. And then on April 15th, we'll be talking about popular apps. What are they and should your child be using them? All right, let's continue moving forward. So the agenda for this evening is going to entail looking at what cyber envy is and why social media makes comparison harder. The other objective and the agenda focus will be why connection and curiosity matter more than correction. And then lastly, we'll provide some tips and some ideas of how practical conversations, as far as tools that families can use at home. But before we continue moving forward, I'd like to do a quick warm-up. And in this warm-up, I would like to ask you all a question, and we'll go ahead and put it also in the chat. And that is, what do you, specifically tuning in, what do you enjoy about social media? And how does it help connect, or how does it help people stay connected? We'll go ahead and give that a few moments. And I'll go ahead and add that in the chat here. All right, we had one participant saying, see what my friends are doing. Someone else said, I do not use social media. Someone put able to more easily stay connected and see what friends and family are up to. Someone else put it helps me stay connected with my hometown and old friends. It allows me to see what they're up to. Also, lost and found is great. Someone else put I can find out about community events. Great. That's a great way of using social media. Someone else mentioned find out about community events, opportunities, connect with friends as well. Someone else put staying connected with friends and family. We'll wait for a couple more. Yeah, someone said it allows me to share stories, events, and funny videos with my family. I concur with that. Hopefully, we will be able to all laugh also on some of our stories and things we'll be sharing this evening as well. Keep the comments coming in, and we'll continue reading them as we continue to proceed throughout the evening. But we are going to be sharing a couple of vulnerable moments between myself, Dr. Gallegos, and Dr. Rabin. But I'm going to go ahead and start, and we're going to kind of define what is cyber envy. And I'm going to play this in the background. There's not going to be any audio or anything. And I would like for you to answer these two questions in the chat. The first one is going to be for me. I had this story, I had this reel made. And why do you think I would choose to share a moment like this online? In addition to that, why do you think I may have hired a videographer to capture it? There are no right or wrong answers, so please um, just understand that there's no right or wrong answers. I just want to honestly get your opinion and your take on why would I do something like this? Someone put marketing, reach, publicity, personal brand. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. Someone else said something I am enjoying. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Someone else put fun memories. Yeah, this is archive. This is from 2 years ago. So yeah, it is definitely a memory. Yeah, honestly, to boast my professionalism, it's another way of saying it. Yeah, absolutely. Showing what you are doing and up to. And the reality is that yes, I have this connected on my originally I had it a video resume. That's it. Actually, that's why I have it now. Originally I had this on my Instagram, and I had it on several channels on my Instagram, and the part was to just showcase the work that I'm doing. I have this now on my LinkedIn, and this is also on my YouTube channel. That's one of the main platforms on there. But it was definitely to showcase that. And someone else put to inform people of the event and get them to celebrate with me. That's absolutely 100% true. And that was the goal of this, is to add it to my professional resume, especially when it comes to Comic-Con, educational panels. But what people may not know is the challenges that went behind it. Especially one of my best friends, being the videographer, uh, that drone shot that he had up there, that was the only spot that his drone was actually allowed to fly, and it was very tight as well. There was challenges for him trying to get these shots. Other things that did occur were just some challenges when it came to the presentation and the timing of it, and other questions that came about. And typically, what people don't see is the stress that goes behind putting something out like this together. And the stress and the video footage and capturing before and after. Some of the things you might look like, the video looks like it's finishing, but actually that was staged in the beginning. My videographer said, like, hey, I need you to do this. I'm like, it doesn't feel natural. It's like, you better make it feel natural, better look natural. I'm like, okay. Just to show you though, this is a highlight reel. This is a tip of the iceberg of what really took place that specific day. But to continue on and to kind of hear a little bit of a different, two other stories that are similar but also different, I'm going to ask Dr. Rabin to kind of also share a little bit about this experience with cyber envy as well.
Yeah, so mine's just sort of an ongoing love affair, apparently, with cyber envy, because someone said, you're looking at something that you're enjoying. And I think that I put this up here for that reason. So it's kind of like I scroll around a lot and the algorithm's just noticing what I enjoy. And it goes, oh, this matters to you, right? And then it feeds it just continues to feed you what you like. So, It can be inspiring. So this image is like what my dream closet and my dream pantry might look like. I don't know how I get roped into this, but I there's that feeling of wouldn't it be great if we all had such organized closets and you can get a little inspired to maybe go buy some bins and things. But it's kind of keeping that constant feed of you could be doing this in check with my reality of my closets look nothing like this and my pantry looks nothing like this because, I live in real life. So when we had things back when I was young, TV would end, magazines could be put away. But, social media, we hold it in our hands and it just sort of follows us everywhere. So, you have to start thinking like maybe this is who I instead of who this is who I should be, we need to be thinking more, this is who I admire and keep that thinking in check, I think. And so that's really just what I wanted to say about this. I'm curious, does anyone out there have anything like this that's sort of their thing that your reality versus the sort of ideal of what your life might look like? Anything that people want to post, go for it. I think it's kind of fun to think about that. Dream vacations, absolutely. Fitness goals, thank you. Yeah, I have my fitness goals, and sometimes they end on the couch. Organization, absolutely. A home decor. It's kind of like, wouldn't it be lovely if we all lived in an Architectural Digest home? It was organized and your kids weren't throwing food on the floor back when my kids were young. Okay, thank you.
And next we have Dr. Gallegos who's going to share the image and her story behind this beautiful photo of dessert. I want to say banana nut bread, but I forgot which one exactly what it was.
So this is actually a picture I posted on my own Instagram. And this was really one of those come to reality moments for me with Instagram. So if you look at this picture, what you're looking at is my kitchen. Everything's very well staged. You see, my kitchen's very clean. It's white. It has, a counter that's very clean. I made these very beautiful little banana breads. I had these little tags on them that thank you sir, for supporting girls water polo, and they were wrapped. And I posted this on Instagram. And underneath, I put, just got done making banana bread, exclamation point. And what I realized was one, what you didn't see. And what you didn't see is on both sides was a messy kitchen. You didn't see that there were pots and pans every place. You didn't see there was flour everywhere. You didn't see my wood floor was dirty. What you also didn't see is that it was around midnight at night when I finished doing that. So that was another thing you didn't see. And the last thing you didn't see was my daughter who got mad at me because she was like, I wanted to make the banana bread. I wanted to do that. So all of these things were going on behind the scenes in this picture. But when I posted it with just the image of just got done making banana nut bread. Look at my kitchen. Look what a great mom I am. And it really got me thinking, why the heck am I doing this? Why did I post that? Who was I trying to impress? And why did I feel the need to do that? And so, like I said, this for me was a real come to reality moment, and it really taught me a lot about um, who I was on Instagram and posting, which we'll talk a little bit later as we keep going. So I think what happened was this picture probably elicited cyber envy from people, and at the time, that's kind of what I wanted. I'm going to be transparent and say I admitted that.
And we have a person in the comments today. They mentioned that's why I stay away from social media. And Rightly so. It's smart to do that. Um, it's we'll talk actually. Let's dive a little bit deeper. Actually, continue into this. So there is an academic article. The links will be posted later on, or actually the slides are available. So if you want to dive into what this article entails, but I'm just going to grab a few vocabulary words that we can define what cyber envy is. There's actually not an official definition for that specific phrase, but there is a definition for envy. And it begins, and especially in this article defines it as envy is an emotional response that occurs when people compare themselves to others and feel inferior as a result. But let's kind of add it to now when it comes to social media. And this article also defines it as social media creates a fertile ground for envy because people tend to share highlights rather than full context. So that leads us to this is that social media really it's not fake per se, it's just partial. It's not the full story when you are looking at it. It's partial stories that feel real because we often see them consistently. So in the chat, I'd like you to answer this question, and that is what stands out to you about how envy shows up online versus offline? Someone put online makes everything look, if you look at something online, it makes everything look easy. Someone else said online, everyone presents a perfect world. Someone else put something that's shiny rather than normal. And this is true. Actually, this is a great phrase right here. Online, you can decide what others see and what others don't see. Someone said online, you can hide the challenges and the messes. Online, you might be alone with your head spinning and no one to talk things through. Someone else put this, and a single image never shows the whole story. We all want to look good. In person, you can talk with someone, and inevitably, the challenges come up. That is true. That is always true. That face-to-face conversation. Someone put it just two words and against each other, and that is results versus efforts. Someone else put this, and this is true. People can be really mean because it's anonymous. Online envy shows up more often and blatantly. Online, you can filter and polish all the images. That is true too. That is so true. Online is mostly a facade or facade. I'm sorry, a facade. Someone else, but you can be vulnerable online. That is true also. You can be. That takes a little bit of time and some confidence as well to be vulnerable, but it's possible. Someone else said offline is warm. And it continue to keep the chats coming. This is a great participation. Really appreciate all of you that are diving into this. But we're gonna go into another story, and this is something that Dr. Gallegos actually brought up as we were preparing for this. And Dr. Gallegos, if you don't mind, just kind of explaining what the situation here is with Brooklyn Beckham, please.
Sure. So I love celebrity gossip. That is one thing that I do like. I'm going to admit that. And so I've followed the Beckhams since, the Posh Spice days and Spice Girls, all of that. So I've watched their journey. I've watched them raise the family. I used to get calendars every year of David Beckham, which I really liked. And so I'm invested in this family, truly. I feel like I know them. Anyway, so when all of this has been going on, I've been reading about what's going on with this family, and it's very sad and upsetting. But was a quote that Brooklyn Beckham wrote, and it was such an eye opener, and I thought it was really appropriate for what we're talking about today. And he says, for my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. The performative social media posts, family events, inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of the life I was born into. And I started thinking about how that relates to what we see online with everything. Everything is so orchestrated and it's very performative. You're not putting out the real life, your real life. You're putting out those best of the best. And I think we've all have done it if we participate in social media. So this was one thing that just really resonated with me. And when I found out that Chris was going to be doing this session, I'm like, you need to add this quote. It's such a great quote from Brooklyn Beckham.
Thank you, Dr. Agos, for sharing that. And if you want to dive deeper into this, I just put the link right now to how to access our slides as well. But this is, yeah, this spoke a lot to me when we were getting ready for this, and hopefully you can kind of start seeing this. But this is also a nice segue into a video we're going to watch. It is a, if you don't hear any words, it's purposeful. It is a silent film, but there is music in the background, and just kind of look at what life looks like, and sometimes the things that we see across online, and kind of look at it more with a critical eye. So let's go ahead and check out this video. Great. I'm seeing we're going to read some of the comments. We put the question up on the chat as far as what message do you see? Sorry, let me go back to this part right here. What message do you think this clip is trying to send? And someone put what they choose to share is curated, staged. Someone else put an unhealthy degree to which being connected controls those people's lives. Yeah, it is concerning. Someone else put we can't believe everything we see posted. It can be half truths or not true at all. That's also that's something to consider as well. And then also this one is just very simple. Everyone seems to be faking it online. And I would think that everyone I'm speaking with tonight here has a history of those interpersonal relationships. But I'd also invite Dr. Agos to kind of elaborate on this next slide right here. And she brought up a very good point when it came to how life was back like in the 80s and then how life feels like now when it comes to just reaching out to our celebrity. So Dr. Agos, please share.
So thank you, Chris. When Pamela, many years ago, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, actually it was before COVID, Pamela and I started talking about what is this cyber envy, and we started thinking about it in terms of our own children because she and I both have daughters who are now in their 20s, but 5 years ago they were teenagers. And I told a story about this. I started going down this rabbit hole where a friend of mine that our kids grew up together, she posted a picture of a beautiful bouquet of flowers and it said, "Look what my son's girlfriend bought me," because my son's in Japan. So I was like intrigued, and it was these beautiful flowers that she bought for her boyfriend's mom, who was my friend. And so I started clicking on who is this girl that did that? And I clicked on her and I started seeing like, okay, she's a local girl. She lives in Encinitas. But this girl was living a fabulous life. She was traveling all over the world. She had beautiful clothes. And then you could start seeing like who their friends are. And I started noticing that my daughter's best friend was friends with her. So I reached out to him and I'm like, "Hey, tell me about this girl." And he's like, "Oh, she goes to my school, blah, blah, blah." And I started thinking, like, here's this girl online, and I'm intrigued with her. I'm looking at her. I'm like, she lives this fabulous life. She goes on these amazing vacations. She has these beautiful clothes. And my kids are just one step away from her. Their best friend knows her and goes to school with her. And it started making me think if my kids are looking at this, and if I'm looking at this and I'm kind of jealous, what is that doing to a whole generation of children? Because it used to be we would look at famous people in magazines and they were so far away, like it didn't feel real to us because they were in magazines. We weren't interacting with them, they were one dimensional on a piece of paper. But now we're actually interacting with people. They're showing the best of the best lives. So it's not just like the Kardashians that we're kind of entering into their lives. It's the person who lives up in this person, this particular girl lived up in Encinitas. And I have access to her. I know people who know her personally, and I'm jealous of her life. And what is that doing to our children when they may not have gotten a huge Christmas haul or Hanukkah haul for of gifts, but they're watching someone they know just going after, here's what I got, here's the items I got. And how do we really deal with this quote unquote cyber envy that social media has really developed? And so that's how this kind of was coined. Again, many years ago, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, Pam and I started talking about it and thought it was a good thing to really explore.
Thank you, Dr. Gallegos. And someone put on the chat, this is concerning to me as well now that my kids want more screen time. So I don't know if you have a response on that, especially, I mean, you or Dr. Rabin being mothers of young adults now and going through that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all struggle with that. And especially you start looking and you start wanting to see what everybody else is doing. It is concerning. I think that there are a lot of things that as parents we can do to detox our kids from that. But yeah, it is a concern.
So I want to also address another thing that makes social media comparison harder is because there's actually an algorithm of repetition. So what grabs our attention continues to repeat. And I felt this image explained it perfectly because an algorithm is simply something that you find in mathematics, but it's also something that programs robots and machines to just keep doing something over and over again. And one of the things that I am going to confess to you all right now, and I'm going to show you the number one thing that shows up on my algorithm on YouTube. Now, I will say, I do not have, somebody else mentioned here, I don't have social media. I actually removed my Instagram account. The only social media I do have is just pretty much YouTube and LinkedIn, and that's it. But other than that, I rarely use it. And but I will confess that there is an algorithm of something that continuously continues to appear on my YouTube social media feed. And if I'm not careful, my wife has called me out on this. I'll spend about 30 to 40 minutes just going through the shorts and watching every tutorial video. Some of you may empathize, and actually, please, this is a very addictive page, but it's awesome. It's called De Mi Rancho a Tu Cocina. All right. And it is a sweet grandmother located in Michoacan, Mexico, and she makes everything. And I mean everything, everything. I didn't know that chile rellenos, you could actually do it with zucchinis and cheese. And I immediately just sent the video to my mom. And with that as well, she was like, I never knew that existed. But it's the thing, that's what the algorithm does. It continues to allow you just to kind of get sucked in over and over again. So be very careful and be very mindful of that when you look at that. This is, again, we talked about addiction to screen time. We've had other webinars, but some of you have brought this up as well. This can be very dangerous. And this is something that you should have conversations with your friends and even with the significant people in your life. There's another resource, though, that I'm going to invite Dr. Gallegos back to kind of share a little bit more what half the story is. And I'm going to actually put the link to this resource also on the site. If you don't mind sharing this, Dr. Gallegos.
Sure. This is a website that I encourage you all to go visit. It's called Half the Story, and it really goes over in an easy way that explains to parents how you can have these conversations with your children, that what they're seeing online is only half the story. So people are not putting out the day-to-day issues that they have. So for instance, my beautiful picture of my kitchen, again, what you didn't see was the mess. What you didn't see was all the flour on the floor. What you didn't hear was my daughter getting mad at me. And what you didn't see is that I was exhausted. It was past 12 o'clock. So I myself only put out half the story. When I look at my internet, when I look at my Instagram feed, it looks like my life is really perfect. It looks like I am vacationing a lot. It looks like my house is always clean. I'm not really putting out the fact that a lot of times I'm tired. I have a really naughty dog who sometimes vomits on my carpet and I have to clean it up. It's not putting out the fact that I am a mother of triplet girls who are now in their 20s, but when they were younger, we rarely had a clean house because I was always rushing them out to other places. I, a third of the time, was kind of a single mom because my husband was at the fire station and I was just trying to get dinner on the table a lot of times. So what's not showing up is all of that. And that's what I've always tried to explain to my daughters is when you're looking at something, you are not looking at the total picture. And I think that this half the story website really is a good place. It gives a lot of information for you to help you have conversations with your family.
Thank you, Dr. Gallegos. And that leads us to kind of a fun game that we're going to be playing. I'm going to be putting the questions, these questions actually right here on the chat. We'll be putting them on the slides. We'll be putting them in the chat. And we want you to kind of see, we're going to go through different scenarios. I'm going to invite Dr. Rabin to join me. But as we go through these images, I want you to kind of play the guessing game. There's no right or wrong answers. We can assume, but for this image right here, this is in the Blue Lagoon of Iceland and all the glory of a giant hot tub to yourself. So what might not we be seeing here?
Yeah, well, I was going to just add in there too that that is a place I want to go to naturally, and I have not been able to, but my daughter went. Um, so I see Myra's put in amount of tourists. What? He's just sitting there in that lake all by himself. You know, who wants to go there? Of course it's empty. It's yeah,
It's
Taylor, I
never,
think you're right.
it's never
What Taylor
empty.
said from what you've heard, it's never that empty. I have seen pictures that my daughter took, and they pretty much look like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
tons
someone else
of
in the chat
tourists
said that,
on
yeah, probably 500.
it. Yeah,
Wow.
and you get early bird gets the lake all to themselves or the pond anyway. Well, I'm not sure what it really is
Yeah.
because I haven't been there.
Someone else put other tourists erased by Google Erase. There you go. See, so the
Ah,
filters even
yeah, that's
start
possible.
manipulating it. All right, here's another one. It would be kind of cool to have the seventh wonders of the world all to yourself. What are we probably not seeing here? If anyone's been to the Great Wall of China, then please kind of showcase your backgrounds. But look, this is what it is. One of our colleagues here who actually was sharing with us in their opportunity to visit the Great Wall of China was sharing that you can see it this way, but it's actually the further up you go, the higher in elevation you go, which becomes harder. Not everybody does that. And he also was telling us that the further you go, the Great Wall is actually not as kept up either. So it's only kept up actually in the touristic spots. So it's something to consider that as well. Dr. Raby, you want to share about this one? I have not had the opportunity of seeing this in person, but
Yeah, I'd have to ask Alicia if you know where the real I don't know, so I haven't seen it in
So
person. Is that at the Louvre?
that's at the Louvre.
Yeah.
I've seen it about 4 times at the Louvre. I've been very fortunate. First time I saw it, I had the opportunity and I went first thing in the morning and I was the only person there. I got done with the run and I said, I'm going to go see it. And I was the only
Yeah.
person there. The second time and the third time I went. And if you click on the next picture, this is what it looked like. There were people all around. My daughters are only like they're 5 foot, and I have another one who's 4'11, and I have another one that's like 5 foot. They were way in the back. They could not see it. It was so packed. So typically, I do have a picture really close up of it, and that was that day that I did my run, and I went right after it opened. But it's very hard to get to, and you can't ever get up close to it unless right after I went one time, Beyonce and her husband Jay-Z, like they were there like the next day and they had a private tour where they could go in front of the velvet rope.
Taylor, you saw them, they shot a video. Thank you for sharing that. And someone else put also no flash photography allowed. So that probably takes away the opportunity to have one of those high zooming lenses in for this.
I gotta say though, all that said, even if I only saw the picture of the people, pretty far away from it, I'm still kind of envious. I want to be there.
Yeah,
I want to be in France. Who doesn't?
I concur. I concur with that. All right. Anyone here has been to New York? The Brooklyn Bridge. What are we probably not seeing for this?
I have, but is it made out of wood? I don't know.
It is pretty old, huh?
I can't tell.
I think it is a section of it's wood where
Yeah.
people can walk, but you're not seeing the people
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
or
Someone
just
put
the
we're not seeing the people, the noise, the cars, the exhaust, no cars. All right. There we go. Well, here's one image when it comes to the people and the noise.
Hmm.
It's very different. And it's basically again what's reality and what's not reality at times. But Dr. Rabin, I'll leave this next part to you, especially we've had conversations about this, and I know you've had personal conversations about this as well. So it's all you.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, I think someone said in there about having hesitations of having kids have more screen time, and that that is a push, right? That is something that our kids are constantly asking for. They want phones as they're getting older. And, here I was just thinking in terms of emotional impact, but also just sort of parent supports for your kids. How do you do that in a natural way that doesn't feel like, you're sitting down with a clipboard and saying, "Okay, we will now have a discussion on social media, check the box, and we can be done." So just, I have two girls, and I was thinking back onto what worked well with my family. And something that does help is having just constant conversations. So it can be around all types of media when you think about it, not just social media, but they watch television shows, they see movies, and even just generally like that kind of keeping up with the Joneses feeling, like the FOMO, like somehow I'm missing out on something. That can be even just having a phone in general, right? So having these frequent conversations, if I find myself looking at something and having that moment of my own feelings, the three of us have just said it, and you all are kind of noting that on occasion you see things and you think, well, how come I can't have that? Or, we have these thoughts, but we have our ways of kind of filtering that out sometimes or dealing with those feelings. And so when we talk with our kids and when we bring these things up and we share our own kind of thinking on it, we can normalize that having those kind of comparative thoughts are something everybody has, right? So they're not feeling like somehow they're the ones who's just envious. They're maybe not a nice person or they don't know how to deal with it, but that, hey, this is something my family deals with, and oh, my mom is having it, and now I'm hearing she's talking with her friend about it. And even if they're kind of secondhand conversations like that, where the adults are sitting around talking about it, your kids pick that up kind of like sponges. So, casually asking, and of course, you don't want to be looking over their shoulder constantly at their computer or at their phones and going, hey, look at that, um, that's not real. But just saying, how are you doing with that? How, I see you're on your social media. What are you looking at? And sometimes they'll want to share. And how's that making you feel when you see that? Because I know sometimes when I see people traveling, I feel a little jealous. And, what might be real or edited, pointing out, that kind of reality and our humanity. And we're not people who are perfect, right? Hey, I see you looking at those really cool bedroom setups for kids or that new PlayStation that those people are playing their video games on. And what's the reality of that? What's not real? Like, this is a guy who gets paid to watch these videos. And so, of course, his equipment's going to be state of the art. So it helps students kind of build a healthy identity that's not wrapped up in material things all the time. Because as a parent, you can kind of point out what is wonderful about them, right? We might not have the ability to have the fanciest car in the world. We might not live in the dynasty, if anybody, I'm dating myself saying that, but the dynasty mansion, right? I don't, my husband and I certainly don't travel the world, all the time. But here's the things that's good about our family. We are good people, we're kind, we care about others. Take care of what we have. And you're helping your children kind of develop that healthier internal voice, maybe have a little bit of a sense of humor about it, and kind of just accept who you are and what your family's values are. So then choosing boundaries for themselves can kind of fall into that category. So that's when we start talking, mute, scroll past it, take a break. If you are finding that you're having feelings going on about it, just that these are the things you can do to get out of it. Let's just put that away for now. Let's get outside. Let's go do some real things. Let's see some real people, and make real connections with others. Thanks, Chris.
No, well said, Dr. Rabin. And I believe that might answer some of the questions in the chat as well. Someone wanted to know, like, how do we help our kids, especially when communicating is a big part of their life online. And you modeled right now, and you brought up something that we've consistently said, even in our previous parent series, but that's having these conversations with our families and really talking about what do we value and how do we, as a family, make these decisions together. But that leads us to this next part, and we really want to. I'm gonna put this question in the chat, and please feel free to answer that. But how do you talk to your kids about social media and highlight reels? Some of you actually have been answering this already, so we're going to
Yeah,
go through them.
I was just gonna say real quick to I think it's Nyanza. Pardon me if I said your name correctly, but Yeah, I mean, we're looking at phones, we're moderating it as parents, that's what we do. And someone else said something like, I'm kind of dreading when my son or daughter finally gets a phone. And those are all things that it's sort of like, to some extent, I don't want to say rite of, like passage, but they're going to be getting those as they become adults. So it's like with anything, we want that gradual release of responsibility, right? So being there to kind of be that guide while they're learning how to use it, to talk about moderation, to talk about all these things, it can be super, super helpful. At least it was for me. I don't have all the answers that are perfect, but I can say in our family, just talking about it has been helpful.
Yeah, someone else put it's a double-edged sword for good and evil. Yeah, when it comes to
That's the whole
looking.
Spidey, Spider-Man kind of
Yeah,
thinking. With great power comes great responsibility. With a powerful phone comes great responsibility, right?
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, quoting Uncle Ben
Yeah.
is that's true there. Someone else put I share with them that sometimes it makes me feel less fortunate and I notice my jealousy. That's what my kids say. That's not always a reality.
And you think about it, commercials do that to us, right?
Mhm.
Just commercials alone, not even on social media. So, I mean, you see a commercial come up, Olivia, thank you for sharing that and saying, yeah, hey, I see that brand new car and I'm kind of a little jealous. I wish I had one. But then I remember, hey, I've got this great family and I have other priorities in my life that are important to me. So I can kind of, yes, it would be lovely to have that, or yes, I kind of hope I could work my way toward that someday, but it doesn't define who I am and what my life is like.
Please continue to answer the question of how you feel or how do you talk to your kids about social media and highlight reels. But just some questions to consider for your house would be how did that post make you feel about yourself? That's something to consider. And those of you are mentioning in the chat right now, we'll read them out loud in a moment. Another question could be, what do you think is missing from that picture? Kind of like what we just played right now. What's missing from here? What's behind the scenes? What's taking place? Another question would be, what helps you feel grounded after scrolling? And as much as we can have blue light glasses, glasses that help our eye strain. I mean, going outside, even Dr. Raven mentioned it, like, hey, let's take a breather, let's go outside, let's go do something, let's get some there's a phrase that some of our last summer we had an esports camp and when it was time to go outside, one of the students was so excited. They were like, yes, let me go touch grass. Like, thank you, Taylor. You just put it in the chat. I didn't even see that. Thank you, Taylor. Touch grass. Um, but another question and that you could ask you at conversation at home is discuss the source or where the video was shared from. So going back to the trying to find the original source of where did this video come from. Someone put here, you do not know what someone is going through until you walk a mile in their shoes. And they said that I knew a lady who was beautiful, smart, perfect life on socials. Then I found out from a mutual friend that one of the lady's kids had cancer. So I've always been grateful for my kids, their health, and not been jealous of others since then. Thank you for sharing that. So as we get ready to conclude here, it's just a couple things and just the kind of the key takeaways is first off, cyber envy is human. It's a human response when we see that because we're always addressing as far as like, oh, wait, I wish I had that, or I wish I was experiencing that. And there are moments of like, I want to do that as well. And online content also is incomplete by design. That's just the way it is. And I think that's something that we've kind of looked at different scenarios, different stories. And some of you have mentioned very, very eloquently in the chat that we're not getting everything. Sometimes it's fake, it's not real, and it's staged. But also, what's also important to recognize is that conversations do build resilience. And that is a common theme that we've noticed within our parent series is these open conversations. Having these conversations is really how we get around a lot of these technological advances and interruptions that take place, whether it be social media, AI, video games. Let's have a conversation. Let's connect human to human here. Let's have a relationship and talk about this. And again, that kind of helps with the last point as far as connection protects self-worth. It does, not only for ourselves, but even for the ones that we love and the people around us. I'm going to put in the chat again if you would like access to the
Yeah.
slides for tonight. And Dr. Rabin and Dr. Gallegos, before, yeah, let me just let everyone know if you like access for the slides tonight, it's in the link. But I definitely want to open up for any closing remarks from Dr. Rabin or Dr. Gallegos before.
Yeah, I was gonna add, I think Alicia was talking about how we started talking about cyber envy a while back. And I do think in some ways, we are starting to see a little bit of a trend where kids are a little more savvy about this now. So I think they're having their own conversations. I'm not going to say it's a perfect place right now, but I do think they're a little more informed on the fact that not everything that they see on social media is real. I think you'll see kids who know things are staged, but they're still doing it anyway. And it's kind of like they're their own publisher of their own magazine now. So again, it's not so much that they're going to be blindsided by something that they didn't maybe know already, but it might be that they're just not processing those emotions and things like that, or need help to do that.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And just a reminder again, and I will put the link here. If you've already registered for these and you are good, you will get the reminders. If you forgot, if you've registered or not, feel free to register again. But we do have our upcoming parent series with info and security and passwords happening on March 10th. And then we also have another one taking place on April 15th, popular apps. What are they? And should your child use them? And we'll be sharing different things when it comes to that. And please share these links, send them out to your friends, your family, and get the word out there. Also, if you go to that main website or the focus of the educational technology, you will also see the links to our YouTube channel and access to that as well on our calendar that has everything on there. But we want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. And resources and slides are available already active. If you go to the calendar, the resources are already there. And then if you keep visiting later on, our webinar will be posted on YouTube within the next couple weeks or so. And that will give us a chance to go back and rewatch it as well. But thank you, everyone, for attending tonight, and have a great rest of your Tuesday evening. Take care.